Hello one, hello all, welcome to this first episode of 1999 Best Movie Year Ever. Technically, the prologue could be seen as a pilot, but this is studying January 1999. Welcome to WILIscredia, I am CP, you aren't. Let's get to it. So before we get into the movie aspect and how we were affected, the real world in January of 1999 saw Bill Clinton have an impeachment trial begin. Not to spoil anything, but I think he's going to do okay in that. Things that also happened in January 1999. The euro was first introduced on January 1st, 1999. The euro was introduced and still is around today, so there's that. 20 plus years of success to the euro, congrats. And in other pop culture news, one-hit wonder Britney Spears released her debut album in January 1999. In the video game end of things, Silent Hill was released at this time, which would of course end up becoming a series and a film, so there's that. And the last bit of pop culture to talk about for January 99, The Sopranos premiered on HBO. Oh boy, how many hours upon days upon weeks of my life have been evaporated by that series, so already we're kicking off to some pretty big stuff as far as 1999 is concerned. As far as the film world is concerned, little projects like In Dreams, starring Annette Bening, featuring Robert Downey Jr. on his pre-comeback, a thriller that flies under the radar but can certainly be appreciated still. And joining us for the guest portion of this episode is Cecil of The Horror Show, which I brought him here to talk about something that isn't horror related because that's all he does on The Horror Show. So, Cecil, what January 1999 film struck you?
Hey everyone, Cecil here from the Horror Show channel, and CP asked me to give my thoughts on the 1999 comedy movie, She's All That. Obviously, this is not the usual that we cover over on the Horror Show channel. For whatever reason, I immediately chimed in because it stuck out in my mind as a movie for a couple of different reasons that has lasted in my memory. I held that memory the entire time. It's like, yeah, I like that movie, but especially I liked Rachel Lee Cook. This was the movie that introduced me to Rachel Lee Cook. This does really stick out in my mind as her movie. Obviously, it was just as much Freddie Prinze Jr. And the odd thing rewatching this was the amount of talent that has gone on to do more and more and more. Obviously, Freddie Prinze Jr. is doing less than a lot of people, but he was really big for a while. Paul Walker was the best friend. Obviously, his story ended tragically, but he went on to have a very big career. Then there was also Usher. Usher was the school announcer / the guy doing the DJing at the prom. This movie was just funny to relive. More than, it's not obviously the best movie ever. It's one of the better 90s teen comedies that we got from that time frame, but this movie really stuck out to me for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Rachel Lee Cook. This might have been my first experience with the My Fair Lady kind of thing, where they take an ugly duckling and turn it into a beautiful swan. This might have been the first one that I remember. I would have been 19 when this came out, so maybe I'm just misremembering. I'm sure I'd seen something by then, but this really stuck out to me because she started off kind of geeky and kind of nerdy, and I think I might have actually projected a little bit onto her because I was like, oh, look, if I work hard, I can become something that people would really desire and popular and all that stuff. I actually ended up being more of a social butterfly in school. I just kind of was able to float between all the groups, but that's I think maybe a reason why this movie stuck out as well. But yeah, it was just a fun 90s movie. I'm going to just keep saying fun in 90s because that's what this movie completely entails. But yeah, Rachel Lee Cook did a tremendous job as far as playing. What was really good in her performance, in my opinion, was that she really played sort of the introverted geek really well. And then when she first transitioned into, you know, the beautiful version, after Anna Paquin did the makeover, Rachel Lee Cook, I mean, obviously the pratfall of falling down the stairs, yes, but she still was very much that introverted geek, just in a gorgeous outward exterior. So that was some really good acting, in my opinion, and that you know, that always stuck with me as well. So the movie is fun. I just have this weird appreciation for it. So CP wanted me to give you all of my thoughts. So there they are. If you haven't seen She's All That, it's worth a watch. It's something you could watch with your teenage kids, and they'd probably get a kick out of it as well, because there's still a lot of humor that would work because it's so juvenile. So yeah, give it a watch, guys, if you haven't yet. Anyway, thanks very much, and that's going to do it for me from the horror show. And as CP loves when I say, remember, guys, stay scared.
Yes, indeed, stay scared. That is the message of She's All That. So before we leave you, I'll give you a quick little tidbit about a film from January '99 that I'm not going to say it hit me a certain way. It just was a sign of the times that I enjoyed. It certainly stuck out to me for a couple of reasons. One most importantly, and that is Varsity Blues, which was released by MTV Productions. I remember thinking, oh, great. Can't they just stick to music? Spoiler, they don't. Remember when MTV played music? Yeah, you don't.
God, you're young. God, I'm old.
A high school's backup quarterback is chosen to lead the football team after the star quarterback gets hurt in an injury. Well, how else do you get hurt?
Don't do it, Wendell. It's not worth it, man.
You gonna listen to that from a gimp?
Something that's notable about Varsity Blues is in the late 90s and early 2000s, I would say right around until 9/11, there was this deep-fried, glittered-up portrayal of teenagers and teenage movies, and Varsity Blues was no different. I feel like this was the last batch of movies that respected teenagers along the lines of Breakfast Club. I'm not putting Varsity Blues up there with Breakfast Club, but it seems like teen movies nowadays seem to be aimed at 13-year-olds and not 16-year-olds, which is kind of strange because 16-year-olds, they basically talk like adults. They're going through changes. They talk about sex. They're well aware of sex. There was this generation of films that still kind of spoke to that while being, I don't know, WB, watered down. Varsity Blues is kind of all of that. It's a bit of a high school drama. It has its beats that feel a bit melodramatic, but it still was. If you were a high school age kid back then, which I was, it hit something. It certainly is like a comfort food movie. And Allie Larder, it makes you really appreciate whipped cream. None of my high school girlfriends did that, just for the record. If you were the age of the stars of the film, it felt important. It spoke to something that was sort of important to you, but in the grand scheme of things, it's light. Like I said, melodramatic, but you know, in high school, you don't want to turn out like your father.
But I don't want your life.
I don't want your life. 1999, Varsity Blues and She's All That seemed like two movies that were kind of last gasps of the John Hughes generation of teenage comedies. They were sort of serious, but still kind of funny and still kind of respectable to their audience. Well, that's going to do it for this January episode of 1999 Best Movie Year Ever. Is there something else that came out in January that I did not discuss or was listed that you felt could have been discussed more? Let us know down in the comments. Is there a movie in 1999 that really speaks to you and you're a YouTuber? Go back and watch the pilot of this series and see if you would like to take part in this. But keep in mind, we're going month by month, so February's coming up next, March shortly thereafter. A total of 12 episodes is coming, and depending on when you watch this, we might be pretty deep into this series. But one last thing, I need to credit Brian Raftery. I kept calling him Brian Rafferty. That's what dyslexia does to you. Brian Raftery, who wrote the book that this series is kind of inspired by, 1999, best.movie.year.ever. I'm excited. We're gonna February is probably the lightest month of 1999. We'll get through that. Then once the spring months come along, it's heavy movies. There's some incredible stories that I really can't wait to share with you. I've had a sneak peek at some of these stories. There's some footage that I'm currently sitting on right now that is already done, already ready for the episodes, and really personal, really incredible, exactly what I'm looking for, and I cannot wait to share other people's stories with you about this monumental year in cinema. And of course, doing us a favor and showing us you enjoy this series by clicking that thumbs up certainly helps. And if you want to keep track of this series, subscribe and click that notification bell to know when the next episode is coming. Other than that, I have been CP. You haven't. Shout out to the patrons.
Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to our various channels linked in the description below, and have a lovely day.